Hello, so my name is James Page, and this lesson is on the Trail of Tears, which took place roughly 1830 to 1850. To begin, a little bit of recap again on Andrew Jackson. He lived 1876 to 1845. He was elected the seventh president of the United States in 1829. He was a Democratic Republican. He supported agriculture and he believed in states' rights, a limited federal government. He believed that bigger businesses led to corruption, which is kind of ironic given how corrupt he seemed to be. As a president, he saw nearly 70 treaties signed with Native Americans, not always directly with him involved, but between him and his advisors. It was nearly 70 treaties with Native Americans. Prior to Andrew Jackson, the U.S. policy was to leave Native Americans alone and enjoy the kind of peace that they had. There were already some treaties in place that let them be rather peaceful with the Native American tribes that were in the area. There were some conflict between other nations and settlers, but it was not as common. Jackson saw this as unacceptable, and he saw it as maybe a time for them to call to action and look at moving the Native Americans around. And so in 1830, he signed the Indian Removal Act. The Indian Removal Act promised territory in the, or promised the Indians territory in what was called Indian Territory. So basically just the unsettled West in exchange for what was seen as desirable land in reservations they had been granted previously. Many of the tribes up farther north were willing to relocate, and they would sign treaties and take deals. The main issues and what led to the Trail of Tears were what were called the Five Civilized Tribes, and we'll get to those in just a second. Here I would show this video just kind of talking briefly about the Trail of Tears, what it was, why it was called the Trail of Tears. And then going into each slide is just going to have information on each nation. So the Choctaw Nation, before the Trail of Tears, is about 19,554 people and 500 slaves, as well as some white citizens of the Choctaw Nation. The Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek in 1830 saw the relocation of a lot of these people. They were moved from present-day Mississippi to present-day Oklahoma. It was around 12,500 people displaced between 1831 and 1836. 2,000 to 4,000 of these people died as a result of mostly disease. There was a cholera outbreak at the time. Here, the Seminole Nation was about 5,000 people plus some slaves. The Treaty of Payne's Landing in 1832 saw them move from Florida to Choctaw Territory in Mississippi. There was 2,833 people displaced between 1832 and 1842. 700 of these died as a result from the Second Seminole War, as well as just poor conditions during the time of their moving. Creek Nation was about 22,700 people and 900 slaves. The Treaty of Cassetta in 1832 saw them having to relinquish all of their land east of the Mississippi in exchange for individual land grants to different chiefs and people in the tribe. At this time, 19,600 people were displaced. Around 1834 to 1837, 3,500 of these died during the journey. Chickasaw Nation, 4,914 people and 1,156 slaves. They were relocated in the Treaty of Pontotoc Creek in 1832, where they were moved from Mississippi to present-day Oklahoma, what was then Indian Territory. It was 4,000 people displaced, and 500 to 1,800 of these died from disease and poor conditions. It was often exposure to the elements paired with sickness that caused these people to die, if it wasn't something like wars like the Seminole War or cholera. The Cherokee Nation, the largest group, was 21,500 people with 2,000 slaves. The Treaty of New Echota, I hope I said that right, 1835, The Cherokee were to surrender their land and moved east into Indian Territory. 20,000 people at this time were displaced in 36 to 1838. 4,000 to 6,000 of these people died from lack of resources, poor conditions when traveling, and disease. Here I would close out the lesson having the students break into groups, and I would like them to make pamphlets. I would explain that they would be like a curator, somebody setting up an exhibit, and so I would want them to kind of plan out what that would be and how that would tie into the history of what happened in the Trail of Tears, and then make a flyer so that they can get creative and get colorful with it.